So what is IB, and how is it different than AP? If you're like most Newport Harbor High School students, you've heard of IB, but you may not know exactly what it is. So that's what this video is for. Probably the biggest question concerning IB is, what's the difference between AP and IB? This is an AP test. As you can see, the majority of the test consists of multiple choice questions. Oftentimes in AP tests, students will feel pressured for time, unlike IB tests that allot more time to answer all the questions. AP tests often focus on memorization of facts, whereas IB tests require the students to use critical thinking to apply concepts to new situations.
This is an IB test. One of the biggest differences between the tests is that IB is almost entirely free response. Furthermore, AP grades on a scale of 1 to 5, whereas IB grades on a scale of 1 to 7. This means that it's more difficult to earn a top score on an IB test than it is on an AP test. However, IB tests usually focus more on specific concepts in depth, while AP covers a broader spectrum of material. IB tests are also conducted in multiple sessions spanning at least 2 days. As of now, AP tests cost $89, while IB tests are generally around $110. Unfortunately, some of the test dates for AP and IB overlap, but IB does not offer makeup tests. If AP and IB tests overlap, you must take the IB test and take the makeup exam for the AP test later.
In terms of college credit and admissions, AP and IB are very similar. Higher level IB courses will give you the same amount of college credit as their AP counterparts. However, standard level IB courses will usually not give you college credit or count toward your calculated weighted GPA. In addition to taking IB tests, students must complete other requirements in order to receive the IB diploma. One of the major unique requirements of the diploma program is the 4,000-word extended essay, a research paper on a topic of the student's choice. One of the most important aspects of the extended essay is choosing a topic that you are genuinely interested in, because you will most likely spend the majority of your summer break on it.
At Newport Harbor High School, a lot of AP and IB courses are actually the same class, but enough material is taught in the class to cover the exam questions for either test, or both if you wish to take them.
CAS. CAS is a comprehensive program designed to enhance creativity, action, and service in diploma candidates. CAS requires students to complete monthly logs in order to track their activity in each of these areas, as well as complete a collaborative final CAS project.
If you don't want to commit to the full IB diploma program, you still have the option to take IB courses through an IB certificate course.
The major factors that contributed to my decision in not doing the IB program was, first of all, is the amount of commitment that it would take to take many high-level classes. I felt that I needed a smaller schedule with high-level classes so that I could focus on doing well in those classes.
Personally, although IB has an excellent curriculum, one of the major factors that affected my decision was my hectic schedule. Personally, I am a very busy person. I did athletics last year, I did cross country and track, and I felt that would have interfered with the whole 6 classes schedule. On top of that, the theory of knowledge is late at night.
I noticed, first of all, that in IB, there's many different ways of testing students' knowledge, in opposed to in AP, there's one test. There's one type of test throughout the year to test a student's knowledge, in opposed to many different types of analysis.
Well, as IB certificate bearer in 2 classes, and I've taken other AP classes, I've definitely noticed a certain contrast. Last year, I took an IB/AP English class of literature, and I noticed that a lot of the material was multiple different practices and everything to prepare for the AP exam. And in IB classes, I noticed that there's a lot of research and a bit more of a global approach to the subject itself.
Well, for me personally, I wasn't really sure whether to take IB or AP. So when Mrs. Barnaby, who's the director of the program, offered me a trial period to see what it was like, basically to take IB classes and be able to drop them and switch back to AP if I didn't like it, I took that opportunity, and I really liked IB. I really liked the classes and the extra things that we had to do, like TOK, CAS, and the extended essay. I thought those were really interesting, and so I decided to take it. And when I took it, I basically realized that this was probably a better pathway for me to take because I would be taking all AP level classes anyway.
One of the major things that convinced me to take IB was the fact that a lot of the classes were focused on topics more in depth rather than a bunch of topics that you had to cover more generally. So that really appealed to me, and I also like the idea of having to take a bunch of different types of classes rather than just focus in one area because I like learning about different things. And also the idea of being able to write a research paper seemed like a good experience to have.
In terms of downsides, I would probably say that the time commitment is one of the biggest things for me because you have your extended essay, which takes a long time to do. You have CAS, which, it's easy to integrate CAS into your daily life, but that's still something extra that you have to do. And especially, I think, TOK, because it's twice a week and it's 2 hours per class. So you're spending 4 hours in class outside of your normal class hours.
Yeah, I would say there are a few downsides. One of the major downsides is that there isn't really room in your schedule to take elective-like classes. It's very difficult to be able to take like ASB or ALBIT alongside with IB. It is possible, I'm not saying that it isn't, but it's just difficult, and I think that is one of the major downsides to the program, and also that it is rather time-consuming.
I would definitely say the extended essay was the biggest unique thing for me in the IB program. It's basically a 4,000-word research paper that you can pick the topic that you want to research on. And I picked English. I did a lot of research, and originally I wouldn't have thought that you could do a lot of research on a topic like English. Like, you would normally do research on science, but you do a lot of, you look at your texts and you have to analyze your texts, and it's just a lot of work to put in. But I think that it gave me experience with collegiate level work. I think it really helps prepare me for what I'm going to be doing in college next year.
So I think my best takeaway from IB was some of the amazing people that I met. For instance, at the Theory of Knowledge class, we really got an opportunity to get to know one another, all the different IB diploma candidates, and it was just so much fun to meet all these interesting people who I would not have been able to meet otherwise if it wasn't for this program. One of the biggest things that I would offer prospective IB students would be able to manage your time effectively. This is so important for IB, and it's an important skill just to have in general, but because you're juggling a bunch of classes that assign a ton of homework, and you're trying to juggle between that in addition to like CAS and your extended essay and going to a night class 2 times a week, it's really important to be able to know how to budget your time.
Prospective IB students, I would say go ahead and try the program. It's basically risk-free. You can drop out if you don't like it. That's one of the reasons that I did it. Really know yourself and know what's going to help you most in school. Like, do you want to have more breadth of knowledge, or do you want to have depth of knowledge in a couple of topics?